Welcome to this edition of Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're going to talk about the Tournament of Champions, the esports tournament. We're going to give you an update in wrestling, swimming, and basketball when all of our guests join us, and of course we'll have Tulsa Recycle. Well, welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics, and we have Steve Friebus now, who's the coordinator of sports medicine for the district, and one of his responsibilities is to oversee wrestling and the weight control in wrestling. And so we're going to talk about where our wrestling programs are, and then we'll talk about the weight control.
Well, it's that time of year again, and we're having to test all the wrestlers. It's called the alpha test, and where the rest of us are eating Christmas goodies and getting fat, we shouldn't be offended if the wrestlers are passing all those goodies up, because they're all trying to lose weight at this time. And that's kind of the premise for this program, that it's through the NFHS that we're following their guidelines. There's a subculture in wrestling that says you have to lose weight to wrestle, and the theory behind that is that if I can lose some weight, I can wrestle guys that are smaller than me. I can go down a weight class, and losing weight for weight's sake is just doesn't follow that. So what the program does, we check their body fat and determine, do you have weight that you can lose? There are some kids, and the threshold is a 7% for males and 12% for females. So if a guy has 12% body fat, it's saying you can only come down to 7% body fat. But if a kid is below 7%, they're not allowed to lose any weight. I mean, fat is necessary for health, and then it tells you, okay, if you have that 5% to lose, it'll also tell you how quickly you can lose it. So guys can't say, oh yeah, I can lose 20 pounds in a week, because they starve themselves and they don't drink any water. What it's trying to say is, okay, you can lose 1 to maybe 1.5% per week. And so it's a lot slower. We're trying to, so that if kids do have that extra weight that they want to shed, that they do it correctly, they do it safely, and that's the whole point of this. So, parents, a lot of moms, a lot of dads get worried that their kid's going to become sick and ill, and that's just not the case. We're trying to do this in a healthy manner.
Well, with the essence of a teenager in that growth period of their life, is there any allowance after you do your initial weigh-in throughout the year for that person who may grow?
Yeah, and actually after January 1st, there is a 2-pound growth allowance. So basically all the weight classes get shifted up 2 pounds. So, the 106 goes to 108 and the 113 goes to 115. So they are assuming the kids are going to grow throughout the year. And it's just that, and a few years ago, they actually also changed the weight classes. They moved them around a little bit. And so they weren't as close together, where they were some of the middleweights were only 5 pounds apart. Now they're 7 or 8 pounds apart, which kind of helped keep kids thinking, oh, I can drop 2 weight classes. I can starve myself and drop 2 weight. Now it's a lot bigger. So I'm finding that more and more kids are just wrestling where they're at. They're not trying to do that crazy stuff anymore, which is really good for, I think it's made it better between football coaches and wrestling coaches. There was kind of a fight. I need my kids to be big, and I need them to drop weight, and there seems to be a lot less of that.
Well, now we have a maximum weight too, don't we?
Yeah, the heavyweight division is at 285 pounds, which, when I was in high school, was at 245, and now it's 285. And it's amazing how many kids are well above that. You got high schoolers at over 300 pounds. Yeah. And so there's kids that actually don't get to wrestle because they can't. It's just, they're way too much. And like I said, you're only allowed to lose so much per week, and the season would be over with before they could get down under that 285.
Well, now do we test for sway with our wrestlers?
Yes, we also do the baseline concussion testing with them too, because they get thrown on their heads and two guys shooting at the same time. So we definitely also check them, do their baseline testing. A lot of them, if they've come from football, they've already been tested. So we're now just having to find the ones that haven't already been tested in a previous sport.
I think a lot of people don't realize that you can get a concussion on almost any activity where you're moving.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, and they think, well, wrestling, they have the headgear on and everything. Of course, in football, they have the headgear on too.
Yeah.
It's immaterial. What do you think some of the challenges for wrestling? Now, wrestling over the last few years has gone down in participation, and we're down to 6 schools now.
Right, down to 6 schools. It's I think what has happened is the growth of youth wrestling, and so it's harder for a kid to come in as a 8th or 9th grader who's never wrestled before, and they're wrestling kids who've been wrestling for 5 or 6 years, and it gets discouraging. They don't want to put the time in, to know, am I going to get good if I keep working at this? By my junior year, will I get good? So it's tough. Though we're seeing a different part of the wrestling, which is showing tremendous growth, and that's in girls wrestling. And that's growing across the state. I've tested quite a few female athletes at our schools. So what used to be 1 or 2, we have, I think, almost 10 girls in Tulsa Public Schools wrestling. So I'm glad to see that aspect is growing as well.
Well, I think that's going to be probably the next sport that's added by the Activity Association.
Yes.
I know they're going to have exhibitions this year at the state meet, and then next year they will have a state championship in wrestling. They're not exactly sure what the classifications will be because they don't know the size of schools that will be joined in, but they know the largest school in the state, which is Broken Arrow, is going to have, and they got about 40 girls in the room right now. They've hired a women's coach, so I think it's certainly going to happen, and it's something that we need to be prepared for it. And it'll be interesting because in the past the girls have had to wrestle against the boys. Right. Now they'll be able to wrestle gender to gender.
Right, and it'll be a lot more fair in that sense. And that because what I've noticed is that the girls at the lower weights are more competitive. As they get higher up, the boys, especially once the post-pubescent boys, they put on a lot of upper body strength, and it becomes an unfair advantage for the guys. More
difficult, yeah, you bet. Well, Steve, thank you for giving us an update on that wrestling. I think it's very important that we're able to do what we need to do for our student athletes, and I'm glad we weight test, and I'm glad we do the weight calculation at the beginning of the year so we know they're not going to try to lose too much. Well, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And when we come back, we're going to have Jen Sanders, who is the Assistant Director of Athletics, and she's going to talk about swimming and the Tournament of Champions.
How was school today?
Mrs. Smith, what are you doing?
Recycling.
You can't put plastic bags in the blue recycling cart, but you can recycle this milk jug. You can recycle stuff from all over the house.
You can recycle this empty box.
What about these hangers?
Just aluminum and steel cans, paper and cardboard, plastic bottles and jugs,
glass bottles and jars.
To learn more, check out TulsaRecycles.com.
SNU is proud to announce our Masters in Sport Management and Administration coming to Tulsa in February 2020. Whether your dream is to be a head coach, an athletic director, or working in professional sport, SNU's Masters in Sport Management provides you with the tools you need to achieve your dreams. This 20-month program will meet on Wednesday nights at our Tulsa campus. Take your love for sport to the next level. Visit us online at pgs.snu.edu.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have Jen Sanders, Assistant Director of Athletics for Activities, and Jen is going to talk to us about swimming and some other things in the Tournament of Champions. So let's start with swimming.
So we started out the season. Obviously, it started in October. Right now, we've got Memorial and Edison who swim together at Memorial. Both teams are growing. Both teams are really excited. They've got young swim teams that are working the rec league as well at Memorial. And Joanna Bentley spoke with her yesterday, and they're really excited about some of the young talent that they have coming up. They've attended 4 swim meets so far. They've had some success. So they're doing really well. We're excited about that group and growing those 2 teams this year. And then, of course, we have Booker T, who's always very successful. They actually won, their boys team won the second place trophy at the Fort Gibson Invitational, and then their girls won first. So, and Fort Gibson is, you know, I know they're a 4A school, but they are always very
tough, you
competitive,
bet.
very tough. So looking forward to the beginning of the next season, this next year, as they progress. Booker T's got a tough meet at Bartlesville in January. And then, of course, Memorial and Edison will also compete in the Hornet Invitational that's coming up this next year as well. So it's exciting times, and we're really excited to get some of these younger swimmers at Thoreau, Memorial, and even some of our elementary schools, Grissom. Those folks are swimming as well. So getting those kids in those rec leagues, getting them ready so that maybe we'll have some developed swimmers by the time they get to high school.
No, that's great. You know, as we look at other things, initiatives in our program in the future, you know, the possibility of putting swimming in 4 of our middle schools will be exciting, because there'll be feeders into those programs and keep the kids working. Kind of like our track and field that we hope we're able to do as well, because you know, I watch that elementary track meet every year, and those kids bust their tails, and then there's nothing to do for 2 years.
Exactly, yeah. And it's the same way with swimming. You know, we really want to grow those programs at a young age so that those kids become great swimmers. And I will say, this year we couldn't have done any of this well if it hadn't been for our facilities folks. We had a couple of pool issues, and our facilities folks were on top of it in a heartbeat and got our kids back in the pool. So we're very grateful to those folks as well.
I think it's a lot of people don't realize the maintenance of a pool is so difficult. I mean, there's so many moving parts that could go wrong. Any one day you got the heater, and it's in the middle of the winter, and the heater's not working.
Right.
You're not gonna get in the pool, you know, or they got the filter and the chlorination system, and just everything that goes into it. And the buildings, you know, our pools are older.
Right.
And so things have a chance not to deteriorate, but they do get worn.
Right.
And for the health and safety of our student athletes, it's critical that we have those up and running first class. Well, let's talk about the Tournament of Champions. That's something that, you know, all of our plates get turned in December to the Tournament of Champions. And you have the unenvious position of finding entertainment for each of the halftimes of the games. And because I think it's one of the things we want to do when people come to Tulsa, we want them to be entertained.
Right.
And that's not just the 32 minutes on the floor. It's that 10 minutes at halftime or 8 minutes at halftime. We want to have something. So what have you got planned for us?
Well, we've got quite a few things going on for our halftime entertainment. Of course, we're going to have the Preston jump rope team back. These kids are awesome. You know, they drive in from Preston, and they you know, really put on a great show. I can't say enough about Vicki Graham and the things that she does there at Preston. We'll have a couple of dance teams, Tulsa Dance Company, they're going to be there. We will have a couple of AAU teams that are going to, you know, have a scrimmage there on the court. And what a great opportunity for kids to be in front of that type of crowd. And then, of course, we're going to have Oklahoma Special Olympics, Catoosa and Poteau. Boys and girls Special Olympics basketball team is going to play against each other.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, those kids give it their all. And you know, we're so grateful to have them every year to show up and perform. But then we're going to have some really exciting prizes. There's going to be a chance for one person to win, a couple of people to win canes for a year. Raising Canes is one of our sponsors.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And can you imagine getting chicken strips all year long?
For a year, yeah.
So, you know, hopefully we can get a kid, you know, Raising Cane's chicken strips for a year. And then Whataburger's also going to do a special promotion as well. And that doesn't even count the Thunder shirts that we're going to throw out, the T-shirts we're going to throw out, you know, all of those fun things that really get the crowd engaged and excited about the tournament.
Well, it's 3 days of entertainment. 26th, 27th, 28th of December at the Mabee Center. You want to see great basketball, but also be entertained throughout the day. And of course, we have one of our prolific dance groups, I think, from Carver.
That's right. The Carver girls are going to perform. They'll perform 2 games, and then we're going to have Thoreau there as well, and also Will Rogers Palm and Cheer will be there.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's really great. I think they engage those kids there over Christmas break when they've kind of been laying around the house for about a week. we'll get them up and get them moving. But we're really excited about that. We're really excited about the future of our swim programs. And in the last minute we have, do you have anything else you want to impart with us?
Well, the only other thing that I can really talk about is we've started a bike PE program, and we've piloted it in a couple of schools already, and it has gone fantastic. The kids love it. We target third graders because usually that's about the time and the age that you really learn how to ride a bike, and you've got the balance qualities that you can, handle. But it's been great. We've got Jason and Mike Wozniak helping us out, and it's just a phenomenal program. We're excited to let you guys know more about that in the future.
The bike club has just grown over the 5 years that I've known anything about it. It's a fantastic program for those kids because so many of our kids don't own a bike.
Right.
And to be able to be on that bike and know about street safety and bike safety and so on is really, really important for them as they grow up. So, well, appreciate everything you do, Jen. I'm glad you're here. We're going to have a great Tournament of Champions because I know we're going to be entertained. And when we come back, I'll have a few words about the new ADM and also where our football teams may be going over the next 2 years.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with. Not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
How was school today?
Mrs. Smith, what are you doing?
Recycling.
You can't put plastic bags in the blue recycling cart, but you can recycle this milk jug. You can recycle stuff from all over the house.
You can recycle this empty box.
What about these hangers?
Just aluminum and steel cans, paper and cardboard, plastic bottles and jugs,
Glass bottles and jars.
To learn more, check out TulsaRecycles.com.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. I want to spend a little time and visit with you about how and why we redistrict every 2 years in football. Very controversial this year in the state of Oklahoma because we waited so long. We did not get our ADM numbers until last week. Normally by this time we have our schedule for the next 2 years already laid out. But not knowing what the ADM numbers were going to be made it very difficult for us to make any plans past those first 3 weeks. A lot of coaches went ahead and scheduled their non-district games, but they could not because they didn't know who might be in their district. The first perpetrator in this reason why we waited so long was Oklahoma City Public Schools, in that they had 2 schools that were going to close. And they weren't sure exactly where all those students were going to go the next year because they did have the opportunity to attend the school of their choice. Well, the facts and figures came in, and those 2 schools moved up into 6A, and consequently some schools moved down. Notably, I think Shawnee was one that moved down. Another one in this area was Sapulpa. That moved down into 5A, and Sapulpa has been in the largest class for many, many years. What effect that has is that those schools now will have to find a schedule. And you take a school, for instance, like Sapulpa, who plays in a 6A league, the Frontier Valley Conference. Now they'll be playing 5A football, which means they'll be playing people that they haven't normally played for the last few years. That makes rivalries and those kinds of things go away. Much like when we took Booker T and had Booker T go into the Frontier Valley Conference because they were the only 6A school in the state of Oklahoma in the city of Tulsa. And that made it really difficult, for them to see a gap where they were. Now they play a 6A schedule in everything. Playing in the Frontier Conference, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. There's been a lot of consternation over the last few years about basketball. Seems to be the one sport where they do not have a assigned district throughout the regular season. Everybody in 5 and 6A go to regional, Everybody in 4A and below go to district by district, and then regional. To be able to determine that all the other sports, with the exception of basketball, has a district schedule during their regular season. What that does is it ruins conferences. You can't play a conference and play in the district unless everybody in that district happens to be in your conference, and that doesn't happen anymore. So the essence of a conference has gone vastly away in our state. Just across the state, it's unbelievable how we used to look at all the different conference champions like around the state of Oklahoma in football and basketball, and track and cross country and wrestling and everything. And now, because all those sports are in district play throughout the regular season, the conference is almost over. We're fortunate that we still in Tulsa have the Green Valley Conference, and I think Green Country Conference, and I think it's important that we continue to have those schools play in that. Booker T is in the Frontier Valley. Now we look at what that has effect on the long range of the schools. All of our schools are fairly solid in their enrollment. Rogers has moved into 5A, and they've joined Memorial, East Central, Hale, Edison, and now we see that Webster, for instance, and Central have moved down to 3A in football, because football's it goes 32, 32, 32, 32, whereas in basketball it goes 32, 32, 64. And so those two teams will be playing really new people again this next year, because they'll be in 3A football. Messes scheduling up a little bit, puts us in a position where we have new rivalries that we have to make, and transportation becomes a real issue, because a lot of the smaller schools are a long way from Tulsa, and our schools have to be able to be involved with that type of activity to play those games, at least 3 away and 4 at home, or 4 away and 3 at home in football. We look forward to this year. I think it's going to be a great year in the winter. We have great basketball teams. The ADM will not affect, the average daily membership will not affect those schools this year. It could affect them next year. We're always looking for and hopeful that our enrollment will continue to grow up. We have some things that we think in place for next year which will stabilize that enrollment, and we will build that through, I think, a very competitive interscholastic athletics program. When we come back, we're going to have Josh Noel from Tulsa Recycle. Josh is one of our great sponsors, and they'll be at the Tournament Champions as well as at some home basketball games this year to educate our students about recycling. Stay tuned as we come back with Josh Noel.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have a special guest, Josh Noel, who works with Tulsa Recycle, who's one of our great sponsors. And we really are tickled to death that you're here, Josh, with us today. But we want to talk a little bit about the program and how it's been integrated into the schools and everything. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the recycle business?
Well, I've been with the city for about 6 years now. 2 years ago, I transferred over to the Streets and Stormwater Division, and I was a trash inspector for about 1.5 years, and then I got this job back in April, so I've only been in this position for about 8 months now.
So what is it exactly that you do?
A lot of education, a lot of public relations. We go out into the public and try to educate the people how to recycle properly and how to do better with sustainability here in Tulsa.
How has that been accepted, I think, in the public?
It's doing pretty good. There was some confusion about what can and can't be recycled, obviously. But for the most part, from when I first started, I thought the reception was very, very good. So.
Well, good. Well, tell us a little bit about your education program that we have in the Tulsa schools.
We are able to go to the elementary schools here in Tulsa. There's 81 elementary schools, so we go to 27 each year. And we teach from pre-K to 6th grade. And we go there, we do a little presentation about what can and can't be recycled with the kids. Then we do a little recycling relay activity to help the kids learn, not just physically, but also mentally, on how to recycle properly.
What's your reception in the elementary? Are the kids really want to do that?
Oh yeah. When they're younger, it's a little bit hard to get their attention span. When they're older, they've been through this enough where they understand what can and can't be recycled. But new things happen every day where it's nice to teach them and they get a fresh idea on it.
And speaking of new things, are there new products that are out there that are harder for the consumer to determine is this recyclable or not?
Right. There's a lot of plastics out there. There's a lot of items out there with the recycle symbol on it that a lot of people think that since it has the recycle symbol on it or that it's plastic, it's recyclable when it's not, or it's not here in Tulsa. Our big one is plastic bags. There's also a lot of clothing as well. People think clothing is recyclable. And there's also a lot of toys that are plastic that people think are recyclable. So we try to really harp on the fact that those are not recyclable, at least not here in Tulsa in the stream.
Now, do you have to go through and, I mean, people are going to put those in those containers, and
right.
You have to go and mead those out? And
right. The MRF over at TRT, that does a lot of the work for us, but we have a really, really good crew of inspectors that try to stop that before it gets into the trucks.
I see.
So.
Well, you do these halftime things too at some of our secondary schools.
Yes.
How's that going for you?
The first one is this Friday. I haven't done any halftimes yet, but just for basketball, we'll be able to do a lot of halftime shows. So hopefully it goes out great.
You know, it has in the past. You know, we've been doing this about 3 years now, I think, and it has. It gets the crowd excited about the contest that's going on, but for them to be able to select those items and so on, even at that age, because now really you're talking about a total education because we're doing the elementary all the way through the high schools. And I guess what we need to do is we need to get you in the middle schools too.
Yeah, I think that's the plan eventually.
Yeah, that would be good because those guys are making a lot of decisions too as 12, 13, 14-year-olds before they get to the high school. Well, what do you think the most challenges that you have with the recycling program are in Tulsa?
Just the contamination rate, honestly. The confusion, like I mentioned before, about what people think are can and can't be recycled is still out there. And with new items, like you said before, a lot of new items are happening where people think they're recyclable when they're really not. And our big goal in my job is to reach out to those people and try to really, really harp on the fact of what they can't do and can. So
your education program, does it go beyond the schools? Do you have other methods to get to the consumers out there?
We try to go to as many sustainability events as possible, or public events in general that we can reach out to the public. Like the next one is the Tournament of Champions in a couple of weeks. We'll be there for the morning sessions from 9 to 3. So just as long as we can reach out to as many Tulsa citizens as possible is beneficial for us.
And that's far-reaching because we'll have 16 teams. There are 8 boys and 8 girls teams, and literally they're all over from the state of Oklahoma. So your outreach really is going as far as Lawton, where Duke is, and so it's a real education, I think, if people want to have some longevity in the kind of life we live today. I often see the commercial about the guys who clean up the ocean and all the waste and everything that's in the ocean. And I think, gee whiz, that's just, how could people really do that? And I can remember, don't litter, the litter bug crisis, that we went through 30 years ago, and people would pick up things. And now, are you guys involved? I know that there's some organizations, and I don't know who actually does this, that does the blocks, where you put up that we're responsible for this block to keep it clean and everything.
Oh, okay. I don't think we have anything like that right now for recycling. Right now, it's still we just have haulers and auto loaders and whatnot. We have the guys on the back of the truck picking up recycling. So it's all based on the citizen.
Now the recycling goes. Where does it go when you pick this up? Where are you taking it?
It goes to Tulsa Recycle and Transfer. It goes there, and then it goes into the MRF where it gets sorted out.
And that's located where?
That's over close to Pine and Peoria.
I see.
Where that closed.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, I guess the days of the the junkyards and that type of thing where they burn the trash,
Right.
those days are over, aren't they?
Yes, when it comes to recycling, almost everything goes to TRT. When it comes to trash and whatnot, then it goes to Covanta and the landfill and whatnot. So.
Well, Josh, I'm sure glad you're here today, and thank you for your support of our programs. And when we come back, we're going to have Ryan Boatright, who is the director of the Tournament of Champions e-sport tournament.
Athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLean, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show what they're good at.
How was school today?
Mrs. Smith, what are you doing?
Recycling.
You can't put plastic bags in the blue recycling cart, but you can recycle this milk jug. You can recycle stuff from all over the house.
You can recycle this empty box.
What about these hangers?
Just aluminum and steel cans, paper and cardboard, plastic bottles and jugs,
Glass bottles and jars.
To learn more, check out TulsaRecycles.com.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have Ryan Boatright, who's the head football coach at Webster, but he's also the tournament director for the eSport Tournament of Champions eSport Championship. And boy, this is an exciting time.
It really is.
It's
uncharted territory, and we're excited to kind of be pioneering it.
Well, the great thing I've always said in leadership is that you have to be willing to fail to be successful.
Oh, yes.
And if you're going to fail, you're going to be first because you're going to do some things that you're really not sure what you're doing. But I think we're excited about this and being a part of the Classic Tournament of Champions.
Oh, yes.
And I know every time we've mentioned this to either the participants in the Tournament of Champions or the Activity Association, those guys have indicated that, boy, let me know how it goes, because I think they would like to do the same thing down the road. So tell me, how did you get involved, first of all, in eSport?
So I've kind of grew up on it. I was always that kid. I was the football player. Then when I went home, I played video games, and it was it's been a part of my life since I can remember, and it's just kind of progressed. As I got older, my skill kind of got a little bit better, and I started competing a little bit at higher levels, and it's just been a great experience.
So you had that experience, and now you've imparted that here at Webster in setting up an eSport area in the school. Okay. And have you had some contests here at Webster?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually had a similar tournament, another Super Smash Brothers tournament, and just kind of seeing what would happen. We had over 70 kids from 3 different schools come and show and participate, and it was a really great experience.
That's fantastic. So our goal, I know, is to have 200 or 300 show up at this tournament.
The more the merrier. This is the first time we're doing something like this, and we want it to be the biggest, baddest thing we can do.
Well, so we know that you got to gain entrance to the tournament itself,
right?
The basketball tournament itself, and then let's talk about that. Buy a $10 ticket to get in the game. That's good for that session.
Correct.
And that will go through, because I think the tournament actually goes into the next section a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So you'll be able to see great basketball when you're not playing video games. And if anybody wants to sign up for the tournament, it's another $5 entry fee unless they have a TPS student ID.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah. You get that. You pay that $10. You get in the building. That's your entry fee. You get great basketball to watch, and you get to watch esports. So it's kind of like you're paying for 2 tournaments for one. And then if you want to participate, You pay that additional $5 extra, and you're in.
Right.
And it's game on.
Well, let's talk about the facility there at Oral Roberts. What you've told me, it's a fantastic facility.
It's an absolutely amazing facility. They did a really good job when they created the Maybe Center. Not only is it a great basketball arena, but they have we're going to dub it as an esports arena because it looks just like an esports arena would. It's fantastic.
Seating for?
Oh, they have, if I remember correctly, there's at least 500 to 600 seats available. They're going to have 3 different rooms to compete in with 3 different massive TVs in each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have a main stage where players throughout the tournament will play on the main stage for the crowd to see. And then the quarter, semifinals, and finals will all be on the main stage. So they get to, play in front of a large crowd. It's their juice is going to be going.
And their game will be on one of the screens there, or?
Absolutely, yeah. So they'll be main stage. They'll have their own little TV, and then we're going to project that TV up onto a massive screen for the entire crowd to see.
I see.
So we're hoping for some pretty good crowd participation and some good competition.
And so the game we're going to play is
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Yep. A little 1v1 fighting. We're going to see who the best of the best is.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah.
So how do you score?
So Super Smash Brothers is a 1v1 fighting game. You choose between a plethora of Nintendo characters, anywhere from Pac-Man to Donkey Kong, and you fight. You have 3 stocks or 3 lives. You beat the other person up. They lose a stock. First one to lose all 3 loses the match, and then it's a best of 3 for each round.
So you actually have shots to the face, or what?
Oh yeah, it's like. Different people do different things. You got guys with giant swords and guys who are kung fu experts. I mean, it's you got, and then you have Donkey Kong in there, beating his chest. It's one of those games that it's got a lot of diversity, and it's one of those games where you can really see high skill players and learn from those people.
Well, you've been in it forever, and now it's really become an organized activity across the country. What do you foresee with esport, say the next 5 years in Oklahoma?
Being honest, this is the time to get in because it's about to explode. Esports is already a huge and prevalent industry at the pro level. I mean, it's a $2.2 billion industry, and it's prime and ready to go at the high school level. And it's not a matter of if, it's when. Mm-hmm. And it's really exciting times, and the sky's the limit. It's completely uncharted territory, and it's something to be really excited about.
Well, I know the National Federation, who governs all of high school athletics across the United States of America, have selected 2 or 3 games for those schools to play. I think there are 17 states now that they're supporting the state championship in esport. And I know our executive director has indicated to me that he feels like that this gives some students an opportunity to participate in a competition that normally would not be involved in football or basketball or wrestling or something of that nature.
Absolutely. Some people are football players, some people are baseball players, some people are musicians or, junior ROTC. The beautiful thing about esports is that all of those groups, there are people that play
Anybody
video
can
games.
play,
And it doesn't matter if you are 1 year old or 100 years old. If you got the skill and you want to play, we don't care. Boy, girl, doesn't matter.
Can I sign up before, or do I just show up the day of the contest?
So there is a Facebook page that we would like to get a little pre-registered number. It's at esports TOC on Facebook. But if you pre-register there, comment your name and your school. We will love that. Help us out. But if not, just show up at 8:45. You're good to go.
Sign you up.
Sign
Okay.
you up.
Well, Ryan, thank you for being here. And when we come back, we'll have Mick Wilson, who's the Deputy Director of Athletics, to talk about basketball and the Tournament of Champions.
I am a high school student athlete, which means I'm still learning some of life's most important lessons.
I am learning how to persevere through difficult and challenging times.
And about determination and playing for my teammates.
I'm learning to respect my opponent.
Through participating in activities at my school.
Mom, Dad, Coach.
With time, I won't remember the wins and losses.
But I will remember what I learned about how you acted towards my teammates,
opponents, officials, and other fans.
What lessons do you want me to learn?
Sportsmanship is everyone's responsibility. Do the right thing. This message was brought to you by the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hills means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hill look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hill has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have Mick Wilson, the Deputy Director of Athletics and the Tournament Director for the Tournament of Champions. But we're going to talk about where our basketball season is right now, which we're in pretty good shape, Mick.
It's been a great start to another outstanding season. Once again, I think it's hard to argue against that Tulsa Public Schools doesn't have the best basketball from top to bottom throughout the state. And this preseason, or I call it preseason, this early season tournaments and things that have been going on, really, we've proved that already, not only in our boys basketball, but our girls basketball has been really strong. We're coming off a weekend that just saw the Central boys lose a close one in the finals down at Veneta to Broken Arrow. We're sitting on a tournament championship. We're at Bishop Kelly with the Webster boys. And of course, Edison ended that tournament strong by taking the third place game. We're also looking at the Booker T. Washington girls, won the Tahlequah tournament by beating Tahlequah Sequoia. And really the weekend before that, we had both the Rogers boys and girls win their tournament over at Cleveland. So I feel like our basketball's off and running and as strong as ever.
Well, East Central, the East Central boys had a third place finish in their tournament, and I saw the East Central girls won the tournament in Oklahoma City. So, you know, we had a lot of hard work coming back.
We do, and again, that's a great tribute, Gil. As you know, we've got a lot of coaches that work hard at what they do. We have a lot of really good players, but sometimes good players just don't win at everything for you. And we tie that up with some good coaches and some guys that are experienced, some new faces in some new places with Nate West and some different things. And so he's going to restart the tradition at East Central. Mm-hmm. But our coaches work hard at it, and it's so competitive, and it's fun because they all root for one another. We've got a real good camaraderie among our basketball coaches in the district that, you know, they want to see each other do well. And of course, Memorial had hosted their I don't know if it was a tournament, it was more like a festival that hosted that and won theirs, came through that little tournament 3-0. So again, just proud of our kids, proud of our schools, proud of our coaches and how hard they work.
I think one of the things too that lends well to our basketball program when we're so appreciative of our patrons for providing the bonding for the kinds of facilities that we have now in Tulsa.
That's no question. I mean, we were here through that last bond passed, and our taxpayers stepped up tremendously by giving us great facilities, not only our turf fields at every location, but new gymnasiums and great venues. And those venues are we're so proud of those, and they've taken care of them and done such a good job that the OSSA has recognized that by awarding us numerous playoffs. We've hosted everything from 3A areas and 6A semifinals and quarterfinals, and that's throughout the city. And we're just proud that people appreciate what we've been given, not only at the state level but locally here in Tulsa County, that they've supported us and been right there for us to give us great facilities. And our kids, I think, are real appreciative of having nice gymnasiums and turf fields and things to be able to work out in and play in.
Well, I think you mentioned hosting all those activities, and it is a destination, I think, for a lot of teams to come to our facilities. They enjoy coming there, and our kids enjoy playing there. But I tell you, I think it speaks to the voters in Tulsa. It speaks to the commitment that's being made by the school district for our kids and for our patrons, because I'm going to tell you, any Tuesday or Friday night, you need to look in the paper and see if there's a game at the local gym, because it's going to be a good basketball game.
It'll be a great game. I mean, we've got built-in rivalries in the district. I mean, what's better than seeing a Central McLean basketball game? I mean, it's just it's another great game. You know, this year with Webster being so good, there's a lot of schools wanting to take a shot at them. They also feature a marquee player that's going to be statewide known, that it'll be fun to watch him and his development. But yeah, our night to night, our girls basketball is really improving and I think is on an upswing. So and then back to facilities for a second, Gil. Just looking forward to what we're going to be able to build just at East Central. Just the talk at East Central, being able to build a new gym that'll be right off I-44, have plenty of parking. I foresee that being a great spot to host state events, and hopefully the OSSA will recognize that as well. They know we always try to put our best foot forward, even here at Webster, Memorial, Rogers. Those places have been used tremendously over the last 5 or 6 years, and hopefully we'll be able to build on that with what we're going to do at East Central.
I know they love to come to Webster and Rogers. That has been a perennial site for area and state championship games, and of course with the new East Central complex, which will accommodate about 1,500 people with standing room only and so on. That's going to be a tremendous facility, and what it does for us, it blends well into all the other sports, because wrestling will have their own place now with their own dressing rooms, and it'll take some of the pressure off of the in-the-school buildings that we've had for years and years with those gymnasiums. We can really return those back to physical education areas where we can have a good physical education class.
Well, and along those lines too, Gil, it's just some of the floors and the wear and tear, the day-to-day business. You're right, being able to have PE have their own separate area, and then we save those gyms for competitions and scrimmages and things like that. I think that's a great point. Besides with what we've done the last few years of refinishing the floors and giving our floors a new look, places like Central, Carver Middle School, Will Rogers High School, those floors are second to none as far as what Ledford has been able to do on those.
Webster here.
Yes, absolutely. He's able to do those NCAA tournament floors, and then to bring that look to some of our gyms. Our folks, and especially our taxpayers of Tulsa County, need to get out and see what they've paid for and allowed us to do, because it's something that we're really proud of.
I tell you, the one I think that changed the most is either between Central and Hale, when we put those floors in, because my goodness, it just changed the whole complex, the culture around that program. But well, that sounds great. I think we're off to a super start, but here in another week we've got the Tournament of Champions, and so after these messages we'll be right back with Mick Wilson, and we'll talk about Tournament of Champions and some of the key matchups and some of the key players that will be in this year's Tournament of Champions.
How was school today?
Mrs. Smith, what are you doing?
Recycling.
You can't put plastic bags in the blue recycling cart, but you can recycle this milk jug. You can recycle stuff from all over the house.
You can recycle this empty box.
What about these hangers?
Just aluminum and steel cans, paper and cardboard, plastic bottles and jugs,
Glass bottles and jars.
To learn more, check out tulsarecycles.com.
I am a high school student athlete, which means I'm still learning some of life's most important lessons.
I am learning how to persevere through difficult and challenging times.
And about determination and playing for my teammates.
I'm learning to respect my opponent.
Through participating in activities at my school.
Mom, Dad, Coach.
With time, I won't remember the wins and losses.
But I will remember what I learned about how you acted towards my teammates,
opponents, officials, and other fans.
What lessons do you want me to learn?
Sportsmanship is everyone's responsibility. Do the right thing.
This message was brought to you by the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. We continue with Mick Wilson, our Deputy Director of Athletics. But the most important job he has right now is being the Director of the Tournament of Champions. And boy, what a great field we have this year, Mick.
Gil, really excited about this opportunity once again. And when you say it's the most important job, I tell you what, after being able to help hire our folks and get them credentialed and making sure our students are eligible by student eligibility, there's probably no greater task than what we do with the Tournament of Champions. And it's just such a prestigious event. It's amazing how it's evolved over the years, from the early beginnings with Coach Duggar at Memorial High School to where it is now. And even the other day when I brought this up at the end of senior leadership and invited everyone to come out, as far as our senior administrators in the district, and in our meeting, they were all excited. I think we'll have several of them want to come out and bring their kids and families and watch some good basketball. But our lineup, again, is really second to none. Every year I'm really proud of what we put together. I think each year, I don't know if it can get any better, but it seems like it does. And I think that's a tribute to just our tradition, not only within our district of basketball, but I think it's a tribute to what people really respect in the state and the job that we've done and the torch we move forward with basketball in the state. I think the Tournament of Champions is really probably, in my opinion and a lot of people's opinion, just second only to the state championship. I mean, well, and really, Gil, we're in a way for that 1 week, that 3-day time, we're kind of coming up with a mythical overall state champion just for a little while.
Well, we've had David Jackson tell us, you guys run this better than we run ours. And, you know, last year, we had 4 state champions on the boys' side that played in the tournament.
We did. And I still laugh about last year. It was amazing that we have Varnum, who comes in and goes 0-3 and then goes and wins the girls' state championship in Class B, Class A basketball. So that happens from time to time. We had that a few years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, when we had Okema, who's going to be here again this year, ironically. But they come and take some lumps and then go win a state championship. So that happens often. And Fort Cobb Brock's in the same way. But, you know, we're proud of the product we put on the floor. We're proud of everything that we're able to do. And I think, first and foremost, and I know you and I have talked off the air about this many times, we try to do everything in this tournament with the best interests of our kids. We want to make this an experience these kids will never forget. We want to give them good items. We want to provide them with great hospitality, and we want to give them a great basketball experience in the Baby Center, and I think we're able to do that.
Well, it's an outreach across the state with the teams that we come in here. They may not be able to come to Tulsa many times, and when they come, we want them to have a great feeling. You know, that we had a great time with their kids, and they played in a class venue at the Baby Center with Tony Winters and his crew there, who do such a great job to provide that opportunity for our kids. But I think the other part of that is that it prepares those teams for that district, regional, area, and state tournaments, because it is a state tournament atmosphere.
Well, ironically, the other day at the press conference and luncheon, I had a good conversation with the Duke head boys basketball coach, and that was not Mike Krzyzewski, by the way.
Right.
This was Duke High School in Duke, Oklahoma. And the coach actually was thanking me for, one, not only selecting them, but then obviously they're going to play Booker T. Washington in the first round with some big-time players. And he said, you know, this will be the experience that we need. We can't simulate what we saw last year, where they went the entire season undefeated and then lose in the state finals because they had never really been pressed, hadn't been in those tight games, hadn't gone against players of that level that they saw.
Right.
And he felt like this was going to be the perfect preparation place for them to come, have a good time, build their team, see some really good competition, and gain that experience for this year, making a run at the state championship. And I'm going to go out on the limb right now and tell you, I think Duke will win the state championship in Class A boys basketball. I think that's going to happen. So
they have one real premier player that Shea Seals told us about a year ago.
Correct.
And you know, when you do your research and do the background on all these people, I think this year we probably have 4 or 5 on the boys side, Division I, no question Division I players.
We do, and even as far as we know what we have with Booker T. Washington, with our 2 great guards that are all, you know, 4- and 5-star recruits. But again, we've got another 5-star recruit coming from Heritage Hall with Trey Alexander. I always try to target those teams that are not only good and are well coached, but have that marquee player that people are going to want to get out and see. They may not want to necessarily see Heritage Hall, but they want to see Trey Alexander because he's an ESPN top 25 player, you know, so to speak. Things like that, they want to get out and see that. And so that lends well, too, for the tournament champions. And we've had situations where we've lost players and then have to either withdraw an offer and go back to the drawing board. But we try to do our best to not only give our fans the best teams, but the best players as well.
Well, I think that's a good point you make, because I know 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, you know, a team lost their player, and for the quality of the tournament, we needed to make sure, you know, what our patrons are going to get. This is a tournament of champions, and so we replaced them, I think, with Booker T.
We did
at that point, and of course Booker T came in and showed very well with the people they have coming back. Well, I tell you what, I think some of the matchups, it's going to be interesting. Memorial, as you mentioned earlier, went through their the weekend round robin and undefeated, and they lost the very first game they played, but they'll be ready. And of course, Booker T lost the first game they played this year, playing outside competition. But since that time, they both have reeled off some wins, and I think who knows if they'll be in the finals again. But what a great lineup that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, December 26, 27, 28. Tell people how they can get tickets in this last 30 seconds.
Well, and quickly, I want to talk about our girls' field. Our girls' field's phenomenal.
Yep.
People need to get out and see the 8-Air girls. Hearing nothing but great things about them coming off a state championship, and then Booker T. Washington girls winning their tournament. So we need to make sure we recognize our girls to get out and watch them, because there's going to be some great games on that side. In fact, that bracket may be more competitive top to bottom.
Right.
But if they would, they can go to the Mabee Center website, get on there and log in and create an account, and you can buy your tickets there. Or if you get onto our website in Tulsa Public Schools Athletic Department, we have links that'll take you straight
to the Mabee Center
ticket office. So absolutely.
Well, that's coming up 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Mabee Center. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll be there all day. If you want some great basketball opportunity, make sure you're with us at the end of December. After these messages, I'll be back with a closing thought.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
SNU is proud to announce our Masters in Sport Management and Administration coming to Tulsa in February 2020. Whether your dream is to be a head coach, an athletic director, or working in professional sport, SNU's Masters in Sport Management provides you with the tools you need to achieve your dreams. This 20-month program will meet on Wednesday nights at our Tulsa campus. Take your love for sport to the next level. Visit us online at pgs.snu.edu.
Hope you enjoyed this edition of Inside Tulsa Athletics. We have a lot of great things going on for our kids, and we certainly hope that you can get out to the Tournament of Champions, maybe participate in the eSport Championship, the first ever at the Tournament of Champions, and also think about the winter break. We certainly wish you a great winter break. We appreciate all the support that we have from our patrons. But this is a time we really need to reflect. The district is going through an enormous reshaping of our financial capability, and we need that input from all of you to share with us what you think we should do and how we should proceed with the funds that are available for our students. It is a difficult time, and it is a time that we need to have input. We need to have some camaraderie. We need to be together on where we're headed with our budget and with our school system. But I implore all of you to let us know, let us hear from you, and we certainly want to invite you to attend the Tournament of Champions. It'll be an outstanding 3 days in December. Some of the greatest high school basketball players this year in the state of Oklahoma will be there, and some awful good teams. So until we see you again next year, have a happy New Year, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we will see you in 2020.